Without further ado, let's welcome the commissioner of the Mountain West, Gloria. Okay, see, I knew I was going to do it. Nevarez, give us the proper pronunciation.
You got it the first time, Nevarez.
Nevarez, I like it. Okay, so are you a Miss Commissioner? Are you a parent?
I am not.
You are not. Well, this is my son, and today he decided, of all days, with the commissioner of the Mountain West coming on, to drop a little bit of greatness on the show, which is there is there enough butter in the Mountain West for all of the toast?
That is fantastic.
This is what I deal with.
I do my best work, okay? I don't know what to tell you guys, all right?
I'm just saying. Commissioner, good to meet you. How are you? Like, congratulations on your appointment. Like, I imagine with what's going on with San Diego State and the way that, the conference, I just feel like you guys are in such a great spot. What has the last week been? What's the NCAA tournament been like for you?
Well, to your point, everything that's happening right now is really, really great. I think having our league advance through San Diego State to the Final Four and getting that national platform is certainly something we have been hoping and dreaming for, and hopefully that monkey off our back around the first round is gone.
Right, but it's so, isn't it funny how those things get perpetuated? Because everybody thinks it's easy, Final Fours, and everybody thinks like it just happens. It doesn't. There's so much that goes into that. But what is the meaning on the business side of it? What is the meaning of that for the Mountain West to have San Diego State in the Final Four? What is the business side of that?
So, as you know, every team that gets into the tournament, each league receives a unit. And units being awarded right now are about $2 million each, paid out over a 6-year period. The max number of units you can get, well, I'm sorry, the Mountain West has earned 7 units this year. So that's 4 in the first round, San Diego State advancing. You don't get an additional unit for any wins past getting into the Final Four.
Sure. So it's been profitable. And I think that's one of the most important things here, because one of the other things that we've talked so much about is your background. And coming from the WCC and, obviously doing business with a school like Gonzaga, and hearing Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, talk about monetizing college basketball, and it feels like making its own business model. For you as a commissioner of the Mountain West, how important is basketball to your bottom line and your business model?
Well, certainly to me, I think basketball is very, very important to us, both platform, what it means to the national stage. This is real money we're earning this year. It will net most of it after we pay a few bonuses for performance in the tournament and cover some expenses of the teams going. It will net out to each school. The rest gets distributed straight to our schools to about $212,000 per year per school. So certainly that is impactful to our institutions that are receiving that.
And I think, when I hear you talk about that, and I feel like we talk about this money like it's monopoly money, right? But I think certainly when you are not a P5 league, I think every one of those dollars matters. So when you look around and you see the Big 10 and you see the Big 12 and what the Pac-12 is going through, certainly, how secure do you feel the Mountain West is as a business proposition financially? How secure is your conference?
Well, certainly basketball does not equal what we get from CFP distributions or our media rights anchored by football. But it certainly is, to your point, real dollars. I think from our perspective, the Mountain West, we are very, very well situated. There are 10 FBS leagues, and in the new expanded playoff, there are 6 AQs, and we are well positioned to compete for one of those every year. And, the money we get from the CFP is certainly one of our bedrocks, but the additional funding from basketball over these next 6 years is going to be really instrumental. So I feel really optimistic about the positioning of our league, as well as, what San Diego State has done in this tournament. I hope it gives them a greater platform. While I definitely do not want to lose them, they've been a valued member of the Mountain West. I'm of the philosophy that, hey, schools have to do what's best for them. Look what we were to Utah. Look what we were to TCU. And yet, as long as we maintain our place in this ecosystem, I feel really optimistic about our future.
Do you anticipate losing San Diego State?
When I took the job, that was something that I had to digest as a reality that would happen when I took the job. So I've been operating as if, and to be ready in case that we lose them. I don't want to get wrapped up in the rumors. And,
Sure.
there's a lot of positioning going on by leagues and schools, but we as a league are ready. We had a small membership subcommittee, 3 presidents, 3 ADs that have been scrubbing all the rumors and potential candidates and playing out all the different scenarios. So we feel really good about our position and ready to handle whatever's coming our way.
What is the value proposition of a, Fresno State, a San Diego State? I just think it's so different for what San Diego State, what those 4 letters SDSU mean to the Mountain West versus the Pac-12, let's say. Like, what is the value proposition of San Diego State? What do they do for you?
Well, I think just like any member institution, you have to look at what each brings to make the greater stronger and better. And certainly when teams are performing better, that is a great asset. You also look at brand value and media market and just, size and strength of an institution's fan base. So all those things contribute, and there are different levers that are activated during different times of the season based on how well you're performing and how you relate, to maybe rivalries in your league. So all those things combined, there isn't one thing I think that articulates value for a school to a league.
Mountain West Commissioner Gloria Nevarez is our guest on the Monty Show as we talk about the business of college athletics. And I think, it's really interesting that you also dealt with BYU in the WCC. And I'm curious what when you look at BYU and you look at what their brand is about, obviously here in Utah, we hear a lot about what they meant to the Big 12 or what they didn't mean to the Pac-12. What did BYU mean to the WCC?
I really got to know BYU through my time at the WCC. And even though they were a very large FBS level institution, I felt they really fit with the WCC in the mission and values. They certainly could have been the 800-pound gorilla in the room, pounding their table on issues, and they just weren't. They were collaborative. They worked well with us, and I feel they made us better. And I hope that we provided an amazing platform in the WCC to them for the 10 years that they were with us and enabled them to be positioned to join the Big 12.
What was Tom Holmoe like to work with? Because I'm of the belief I think he is a well-kept secret. He's not somebody that, that does interviews very often. He's not somebody that you see all over the place. So my belief is that certainly what he did as an independent in football and his ability to place himself and BYU in the middle of a great WCC conference. But what was he like to deal with for you?
So I've known Tom since he was a football coach at Cal, UC Berkeley. And I was one of my very first jobs as a compliance administrator. And he was one of the best coaches I ever had a chance to work with. As an administrator, he certainly has become a very strong friend, mentor, ally. He's a sane, wonderful human being. Check out his Halloween antics. They're amazing. But what he did, you referenced it, the way he scheduled during COVID as an independent and keeping that thing rolling in such a competitive manner was short of miraculous. It was amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What do you think Gonzaga means to that league?
Gonzaga definitely, I think, fits. One of the things I've always said is, especially after the new revenue distribution tournament format, league scheduling, Gonzaga can vie for a national title from the WCC. When they play in league, they don't take a step backwards. They don't drop their number 1 rank. They don't drop in net. So the WCC, on the one hand, has really come up to help be competitive, but also I think the things that were done from a league perspective to really not keep the top down were really beneficial.
So let's talk about your position currently with all this realignment. When you look at all of this realignment, and whether it's rumors, facts, whatever, obviously what's going on in the Big 12, Oklahoma, Texas leaving, is college athletics, in your opinion, is college athletics healthy?
I think we're definitely going through a change. I think we've definitely taken our hits in the Supreme Court and public opinion. I have a lot of optimism about new President Charlie Baker. I think I've seen him around the horn. I saw him doing an interview at the early rounds of the women's tournament. He's already reached out to us to talk to our membership and presidents And I actually read his book, which I think really tells a lot about someone who will strip down a problem to the very bottom layer, collect the data, and then build it back up based on data and putting the right people on it.
You know, and I ask you about that because I think one of the other things that's so now prevalent with all this realignment is something we probably don't talk about enough is student athlete welfare. And when we look at NIL and we look at the portal and we look at realignment, are we losing focus on how important it is to make sure that our young people are mentally well and physically well?
And I think that focus is not just specific to student athletes, but higher education, that whole environment, as well as our society as a whole. There is a national shortage of qualified clinicians and doctors and people in that field to treat us all. But certainly, I think you'll see in the Transformation Committee recommendations and the work coming out of the NCAA based on those recommendations, a higher emphasis on providing those service and providing them specific to student athletes. Because, well, I personally was a student athlete and, you know, we all had our tough times. It certainly is a formative time in your environment. And especially for those student athletes during COVID, when you lose your identity of being a student athlete and you're not playing anymore and your season was canceled, those things are really tough to deal with. And we need to provide those services to our stakeholders.
Mountain West Commissioner Gloria Nevarez is our guest on the Monty Show. And one of the things that I think is so fascinating is I saw an interview with you, and I believe it was on one of the mountain channels, talking about your relationship and what you know of George Kliavkoff. So I ask you again, what do you know of and what is your relationship with George Kliavkoff?
So I knew George when he was at MGM, and I was working at the Pac-12 as the main tournament administrator, partnered with MGM and T-Mobile and the MGM properties. And so he's a fantastic human being. I think his resume is outstanding, and I think he's got all the right skill sets to navigate the league. He certainly has taken his fair share of hits for no fault to his own on different issues and things that have just been coming up. But I really think that he is well equipped and will steer the league out of the funk they're currently in.
No matter what happens, good, bad, or indifferent, do you believe the next step for the Pac-12 will impact the Mountain West?
You know what? I don't know. My opinion on that changes daily. And as you said, a lot of rumors and hearsay out there. But I do believe, because, you know, the Western region, we all kind of rely on each other a little bit. And so I think the very first thing that will have an impact on us is their negotiating and finalizing their television deal, both in whether it causes them to expand their membership, but also in how they monetize streaming content. I don't think there's a league out there that's really done that to a very, very high degree, and they may tip the market. Our media rights are going to be up in 2026. We'll start negotiating those in 25, and certainly the Pac-12 deal will be a wayfinder for us in that.
Do you believe that for the Mountain West, do you believe that you guys need streaming? Do you believe that it is inevitable? Like, where are you at on streaming for the conference?
Well, I believe it is the future. It definitely is taking over that next generation. I don't know that live sports at the college level has yet embraced it as far as monetizing it in a very, kind of robust way that really tips the scales for us. We have a very robust Mountain West network, free to the public. All of our content that's not on linear TV is available there. I think we have extremely high production quality on all of our campuses. So we're ready. We've embraced it. We're there in that space. We create content. We create shoulder programming. So I'm really proud of what was built here at the Mountain West, and I'm anxious to see what the next horizon is for it.
How often do you talk to your TV partners? Because, I mean, it's not like, I mean, you're with big networks. I mean, you have, I think for who you guys are and the brands that you have tremendous reach. How often do you talk to them? How often are you in touch with your partners?
Yeah, so our partners are CBS and Fox, and you're correct. We have a very strong linear presence, great deal, great exposure. We talk, during the seasons, weekly, every other week with the primary administrators behind the scenes at different capacities, but also we're talking with our talent. We want to make sure that we are all singing from the same hymnal and they know at any given week what's going on in the league. Now, they do a great job of prepping. They go to practices. They talk to our teams. But I think it's really important from our perspective to talk about the league as a whole and to make sure that they are prepared when they go on air to represent us.
Have you thought about going back to market earlier? Have you thought about trying to, I mean, because I don't know, my personal opinion is, I think the Pac-12 deal impacts you massively. I think if whether they stay as they currently are constructed, they add, they lose, it's going to impact you, especially with San Diego State and Fresno State. So are you prepared to remake that deal or try to remake that deal? Like, do you feel like that's something that you need to be preparing for?
Absolutely, because, and this was the same at any league, and this is the same at the WCC when we lost BYU. Any change in membership triggers renegotiation clauses in our contracts. So we are prepared and ready to have those discussions as well.
Well, really good to see you. Really good to meet you. I appreciate that you've come on, and I feel like you've been very forthright. Are you enjoying being the commissioner of the Mountain? I mean, this is a refreshing. I got to be honest with you. This is a refreshing conversation. I feel like you are one of the few commissioners I've spoken to. I feel like you have the pulse. I feel like you have a grip on your conference. Like, how much do you love this gig?
I quote, love this gig. This is such an amazing thing. I feel like what Craig Thompson and the team has built is amazing. It's so well run. I've had a chance to see the football champ, the basketball tournament, and it's operationally, I feel like I just inherited a Porsche, and it's just a matter of, exploring the different highways and breaking some speed limits.
Well, I appreciate you. I don't have a driving analogy, but thanks for staying in your lane on the show. And again, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. There's Commissioner Nevarez from the Mountain West. You know what, you guys, honestly, I think we have such a wealth of experience in somebody like Commissioner Nevarez and her insight into BYU and Gonzaga and the WCC. And you look at what she said about that, and I think she's exactly right.